some kind soul has evidently put some anti-seize on the bolts on the shopping borders. It's Sunday afternoon, so I'm not using the ratchet gun. Oh yeah. This is where the excess bit of the bolt is there. I just rusted on the end. This copper slip that sends it green, isn't it? I'm just working through to take off the front axle. So I've dropped the prop shaft, done the suspension, leaving them till I've had my porridge, and then hopefully we'll drop that, wheel it out of the way, another bit off, by which time I can then assess whether I'm going to do just a dumb iron or bite the bullet and do the front quarter chassis. That would solve that problem there, if you can see. I don't know if you can. So we know it needs a dumb iron, but I've just seen that you can buy what they call a quarter chassis, which I think somewhere behind there it joins. But that would solve me that problem, repair that, make that a lot less worrying to get out, because basically I can cut it out, and renew all that lot. Couple £100 I think the part, and you know, on the face of it, it's seam welded around 4 sides, and on the other side 4 sides, because I don't know what I'm going to find when I start chopping that out. Anyway, our glorious leader Boris Johnson's just announced that we're going into another lockdown end of next week, so I want to make a decision and get the stuff ordered. Be nice to get the chassis sorted in the next couple of weeks. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be sticking with what I've got. I keep going under it and having a quick peek around, but I need some spotlight and stuff. And it's still raining. Even my dog's getting fed up with the rain now. She's hiding somewhere. Hello. Well, we've got the steering arms all off, or track rods or whatever the hell you call them. That hanger's off. That one I've just chopped through with a grinder. And I've got the whole axle and the suspension up on jacks at the minute. I need to do something, might rig up the crane to lift it out, because I don't fancy doing it behind. I've still got to do the back, the 2 back ones there, and one to the side, whatever the hell it is there. Yeah, I've had enough now. That's the offside rear outrigger. It's been replaced. The plate's gone on underneath to support it. Nicely welded on the side, and it's all solid. That's the rear inner cross member, and then this outrigger for carrying the rear leaf is shot and wants replacing. But that bit's alright, it's only the actual box section up there. I'll show you in a minute. So this is the near side front outrigger for the rear suspension, yeah? So it's shot. It's an odd, I don't know whether that's original or not, but that one looks like it's been replaced, judging by this. And if that is the case, and that's how they were originally welded on, that would suggest that that lot is original and they've just replaced the end cap of it. But it's shot. That one's been done, that one's been done, that one's been done, that's been done. So the only one that hasn't is the only one that's knackered. The only other bit I can find is that, and then the rest of it's on the front. So I'm inclined to say I can't afford £3 for a new chassis, but 300 quid's worth of bits and some welding I can. So I think that is going to be the way we're going. So it's my next problem is out. The only holes I can find in the chassis for inspection are 3/8 of an inch, and they don't give a lot of room. So I'm actually wondering about chopping out a couple of larger holes to enable me to A, flush the chassis, and then B, wax oil it. Last end of another day. Just dropped the fuel tank out. It was a bit of a wrestling match. And we've undone the rear hangers off both sides. Just got to take the bolts, wind the bolts out now. They're set up so they go through, and there's they're threaded into that, and then there's a locking nut on the far side of them. So the locking nut's a bit of a pain to get off, but got them off, so I just got to wind them out now, which means I've got to drop the exhaust off to get that one clear. Remove the top end of each shock absorber, so then basically got to take the back end of the chassis up with the jack, stick it on some chocks or something. It's a bit high, I haven't quite worked out how I'm going to do that yet. And then I can take off the front ends of each leaf spring, and that disconnect the prop shaft, and then the rear drive comes off. That should then leave me basically with the chassis and the transmission. Yeah, be happier once I've got the rear end off and lowered it down a little bit. I don't trust the jacks, the stands. It's a very small footprint for quite a bit of weight, and it's only the width of the chassis rails apart, and it's on a slope and crap ground. Hooray! Well, I've managed another few hours today. Got the exhaust removed, and I've dropped the rear suspension. It's just held on at the front hangers now. I've got a sneaking suspicion I'm going to have to grind those bolts out because they're absolutely solid. I've been swinging on a 4-foot cheater bar, still nothing. And I'm out of puff now. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to get that off and then pull it out. I've got the rear end set up on a old sawhorse I've got, which is pretty robust, but most of the weight's in the axle, and the axle's now sat on some little axle stands. So yeah, we're getting there slowly. Not looking forward to shifting that, but there we go. Well, it's been reasonably productive a few hours. I've got the rear suspension now dropped off, or axle and suspension. Had to grind out the fixings for the front end of the hangers. They were solid in the bushes. Not a very pleasant task, and what I found is, I had to drive the chisel in to shift the assembly one way or the other to get the slitting disc into the nut. And what I found is if you keep grinding for long enough, you go into your chisel. Oh, bugger. Anyway, sure I'll be able to find another one. So yeah, I had a chap come round who's offered to do some of the welding for me, so for a beer token, so I'll go have a chat with him, agree a price, and then I think that's the way we're going to go. So yeah, when I've had my Weetabix in the morning, I'll drag the axles out. I need to find a home for them out of the way, and I'll drop the leaf springs off them at that point, so that they're a bit easier to store. The front leaf spring, I'll show you, has got a couple of cracks and one of the leaves is sheared. The back ones look a bit better to nick, although you wouldn't think it looking at this one. So, all now I can think of, there's a few brackets for brake pipes I've got to disassemble, take the pipes off, keep them as samples or patterns, and then basically engine and gearbox out. I've been reading about quite a few guys, I mean, they recommend changing these bushes, and I believe they're a bit of a pig, and I can see why. So I'll have to come up with a cunning plan to do them. Might as well do them as I'm at it. On the front, I'm pretty sure I'm going to chop it off here and put a new front end on. And there's a good video on that by Machine Shop at the bottom of my garden, where he does his 88-inch Series 2A and actually covers the alignment of it, which is pretty good because not many people do that. Interesting chatting with the welder, how he suggested doing it to make sure that the two hangers are the right distance apart, and obviously they're levelled up. I'll cover that when we get to it. What do you want? What? I think this is them telling me they want dinner. Today's task is to get that springs off, shockers off, and hoik it over the back there, and then do the same with the back axle. So the lower end of the shockers is held on with a shaft with a split pin through it. And when I tried to take the pin out of this side, it's decided to wedge itself. So need to come up with a cunning plan for that, because I broke my drift off trying to drift it out as well. Yeah, I'll flip it over and see what it's like. Right, so I've got it sort of wedged up right. That strikes me as not being original, so I need to have a look to find out what's happened there. So these shafts are welded on to a bracket, so somehow I'll probably have to drill them out. These don't look like they've been off in a long while. The springs are shot. It would be nice to fit parabolics on. They're at least 3 times the price of the standard ones, so I have to review that as to the budget. But if I'm going to do parabolics, I've got to do all 4. Yeah. So that's the front pair of springs. You can see that one's sheared. I don't believe they're made like that. I think they're solid. So that's sheared. The bolts were knackered, so I've chopped them through. Bushes are shot. Not that we'd reuse those. I'm not that tight. A lot of crud, oil and mud. Original leather gator by the look of it. Try and save that because I can't imagine they're available. Yeah. Still got to look at that thing, find out. It looks like somebody's hammered a piece of brass in, but we'll have a look, see. Yeah. Now I need to get that down there, and it's a bit too heavy for me to lift safely. I'll just carry on stripping off bits off the engine, less bits hanging off so that it's A, bit lighter, and B, stuff ain't likely to get snapped off. Starting to strip off the starter motor. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but quite a lot of corrosion dropping out of it, so Don't know, it's an oddball thing. I shall have to have a look online and find out. Anyway, slowly working my way through the pipe work. I'm going to chop that through because it's knackered. I've loosened all the bell housing nuts, so I know they're all free, nothing's seized. They've all had a squib of oil. I've took off the diesel filter and a load of pipe work. The clutch slave cylinder feed is off. Yeah, so we're about getting there. I'm not going to do it today, so I'm going to run out of time in a minute. Anyway, you're going to start the motor off and then that's another bit done. Well, we're out for an early morning walk. I've come up to see the view, only I think we're a bit early. The fog's still not burnt off. We're heading over there. Sun's up, fog's down. Just about hear road rumbling in the background. Well, it's still a bit too early for a decent view. Another half an hour maybe. But we've got an engine to drop out, or lift out, and then a gearbox. Maybe next time. So I've got the engine mount out, but to do it I've had to remove that side of it, lift the whole bloody thing up, take it into the shop, chop through the bolt, bring it back and that's just on finger tight. The reason I think you have to do it like this is because to separate those two faces, the engine's got to drop a little bit to pivot it. But there's also supposed to be a dowel in there. Now, most of the bell housing fixings have wound out the casting rather than the nut just coming off. Can't quite see that. So I've got one fixed in there still. I think there's one down the other side. So I might go and get a dead blow mallet and then have a bugger about with it. That's took an hour. Well, that was a bloody wrestling match. Got hung up on the bottom stud, which wouldn't. It left the stud into the casting, which is assumed how it's supposed to be. And then it got hung up on the bottom one. So there was a bit of rocking and rolling, and chassis just about come off the axle stands. So I've plonked it down for now. I'm going to get a jack under this and actually lower the thing. I might even start look at leveling it. And then I've got to work out the next problem, which I'll show you in a second. In the beginning, there was the Rickety Tower of Death, and having a few close calls shifting some of my other machines, I've decided to go for the ski jump of joy. So the idea is get the engine onto the board, fix it down to the board, fix some runners either side of the rails, inside and out, to keep it aligned, move it towards the pivot point, remove the sawhorse and lower this end down, and then basically using a block and tackle bring the lathe down the ski jump to here, and then I'll have to go and get the hoist, lift that, and then lift it off here, and the engine's go in there until I can get it in the workshop, and then I can do the two axles. The reason I can't use the hoist is that the front legs mean that you have to be able to go under whatever it is you're trying to lift, which means I'd have to build a platform here, put it on the platform, then bring the hoist down, put the hoist on and the ground's crap, and the platform really wanted doing properly, so I just thought this might be easier. Could all end in tears. Dog's not impressed. Aren't you, Pooch? Doesn't fill you with confidence, does it? I kid you not, the pucker factor's through the roof on this one. It's very, very easy sliding on that, and that's with only a very slight incline. So when I move it past the pivot point and drop the end, I don't think I'm going to keep hold of it. So I'm going to wait until the block and tackle arrives, and the plan is then to lash around the engine with the block and tackle and secure it between that point and around the tree here, and then basically use a block and tackle to control the descent. I just don't trust it otherwise, and I'll end up having to drag it out of next door's garden 30 foot down. Yeah, plan works, just haven't got all the kit in time. So this is the view from the bottom, and it's just short of the pivot point, but I can press this end down by hand. It's chocked at the moment, but that's the angle it's coming down at. So it's 4 foot over about 12. I shall go and lift the gearbox out while I wait for the block and tackle sometime this week. With the exception of the handbrake and this set of brake lines and Duff engine mounts and gearbox mounts was stripped. So we'll start cleaning it up. We've got to take steering box out, or relay I think it is. So yeah, and then of course we've got to ski with that, then put the gearbox on it, then the axles. I've had enough today. Time for a beer after we walk the dog. Got to get it from there to there now.